When you are in a relationship with a CEO boss girl, you're not only her boyfriend, you have a second role as well, and that is you are her personal assistant. Not in business, but in her private life, which will mix up with her business a lot. Welcome to my channel where I tell you stories from my life and my experiences so you don't make the same mistakes that I did, or at least are prepared for what could come. So, how does a CEO lady see an average man like me? Just like any of her employees, an average man as a boyfriend is someone to look down to. Someone who has to follow your orders, and that's because, of course, she's the boss. You are just good enough for her to be her boyfriend or her partner. Coincidentally, for whatever reason she chose you for now. As long as you do a good job as her boyfriend and her personal assistant, and maybe you are handsome, maybe you give her lots of attention, maybe you are just a good right hand to help her with her tasks and stress. And as long as you perform well, and no one else comes along who will perform better, you have the job of being her boyfriend. But, of course, you are not more than a temporary solution, as have been many men before you, until she finally finds the real man she is looking for. The, quote, real man she is looking for. There is a slight chance that this could be you. But the better she knows you, the less she fantasizes about you, the smaller your chances are. CEO ladies are actually looking for a man who is at least as successful as they are. But since it is so hard to find such a man, and even harder to get one, she might be with you in the meanwhile. What do CEO ladies have? They have a fancy apartment, which might be in a shitty neighborhood, but at least it's large and nice inside. They drive a BMW, have their inner city office, have a network, and many friends, etc. CEO boss girls basically have become the man they are looking for. And instead of playing their female role as a woman before it's too late, they just focus on their career and enjoy their materialistic lifestyle that they feel they deserve. After all, they are CEOs. If they can't find a decent man who offers them an even more fancy lifestyle, well, then they just stay alone and do it themselves. Most of CEO ladies' friends, they are not actually their friends. They are business partners or just dudes who want to fuck them. CEO boss girls are busy all the time. And just like any man who is busy with his job, they need help in their private life and at home. They hardly have any time besides their jobs for anything. And being a boss of others also means that you are depending on others to do your job. You can't be a CEO without any employees. They cannot run neither their business nor their private life without the help from others. That's why they became boss girls. They are not capable of being alone and of caring for themselves. They are the boss. This is their role. But it is others who do most of the actual work for them. In business, a CEO lady would only pick out the tasks they actually enjoy, which is mainly talking to clients while having coffee, lunch, or dinner. As they have so many opportunities to eat good food, they either hit the gym frequently or alternatively develop an eating disorder to compensate for the calories. Many women who are successful in business cannot cook, or they can only cook a few things. And these few things wouldn't taste good. Never let a see old lady cook for you. It's disgusting. They eat at a restaurant every day and they order delivery food. Not a problem for them. They make enough money to do so. Many are not even capable of cleaning their own toilets. They hire other people to clean their shit. Some of these women, as I said before, and I can't mention it often enough, are not even able to cook. And now to my experience with this kind of woman. I was in a relationship with a boss girl, or should I say a boss woman. She was in her middle 30s. She was huge, 6 feet tall, but a great figure. Not always. She had an eating disorder which took her less time and effort than going to the gym, so her body weight was a dynamic parameter. She had a loud but soft voice, a very, very nice voice. I really enjoyed listening to her voice, no matter what she said. She got her nose done, for whatever reason, had her lips injected up to a nearly ridiculous level, and did laser hair removal everywhere, and I mean everywhere. And of course, dyed her hair blonde, and she had perfect teeth, the most perfect smile. She had brown eyes, and she was even thinking about getting her eyes green or blue through surgery. Yes, it is possible to change the color of the eye by scratching away the dark pigments of the iris. Ouch! She was really considering doing this. It just seems she didn't like herself the way she was, the way God made her. And she did almost everything to match this weird idea of beauty idols that women have. Who told women that injected lips look good? Certainly not men. It must be other women or men who make money by injecting lips. I mean, these women look like ducks or fish. I think she even got fake boobs, but I'm not sure. They looked too perfect and they were just too firm when she laid on her back. But when I addressed this, she said, "No, they're real," which didn't sound very convincing. And I said, "But I can see scars." "No, they're not scars. Every woman has that." I said something like, "Oh, I didn't notice so far on other women," or something like that. I didn't know every woman had scars on their breasts, but at least not the women I've seen. Well, whatever. Real or not, these were great boobs. So, sorry for being so superficious, but I'm just a man whose intentions are good, so please don't let me be misunderstood. Honestly, she had an impressive feminine appearance, despite her size, but since she did so much changes with her body and her face, I actually had no idea how this woman looked like. I asked her for older pictures of her, but she said something like, "They are kept in a box and they will stay in this box forever. And I don't want to show you my old nose." Have you seen the movie Spaceballs? That scene, if you know it, that came to my mind in that moment. Anyway, so that woman was of Greek descent, but she looked like a Swede or something. So not only because of the nose job and the dyed hair, it is so weird to look at a woman with so many artificial features. It's like you look on a big doll, not a real person. But there's like so much unreal, so much obvious fake. Okay, I'm really starting now to be superficious. But guys, before I continue, if you like what you hear, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. You may also subscribe to my channel to see me again. And if you want to support me, to actually support me doing this, you can buy me a coffee. The link is in the description. By the way, coffee is a great motivation to continue working. Okay, so I guess people, especially women working in public relations, which she did, have to have certain looks. They need to be trendy. They need a striking appearance and confidence in their looks to do their jobs. They need to be representative. They need to be dynamic. They need to be successful. They need to be someone. And let anyone know by their looks that they are someone, whatever someone. After all, they are actually the first product that their clients buy. So my crazy narcissist public relations agency CEO boss girl was very proud of her job. I mean, she was a very ambitious person. Why wouldn't she be proud? But honestly, from an intellectual standpoint, so most product she promoted, or let's say half of it, was just trash. Meaning there were just better products on the market than the ones her agency promoted. And the worst things she did were these events that I never attended, but I watched them on Instagram. Basically, stupid people coming together to enjoy naive art and stupid music, celebrating cheap, unsustainable products. But I understand the business is a business, and many people do their jobs because of the money they make with it. I have another attitude. I work because I want to create, and I want to do something that I'm passionate about. That's the problem being an intellectual person. There's jobs you just don't want to do, not because you're not able to do them, but you're just too proud, I guess. Or in my case, I often thought I was too intelligent to do a stupid job. It would bore me to death. I know that's the wrong attitude if you want to survive in the job market, but well, I can't do anything about it. It's just who I am and how I feel. I prefer my life as a freelancer, and the price you have to pay for being free is poverty. I'm not really poor, but most people I know make more money than I do. So again, if you'd like to support me, buy me a coffee. The link is in the description. It would make much more sense to become super rich first and then enjoy freedom, and not the other way around, because then you can actually enjoy your freedom. So now back to the relationship. So there was me in my late 30s. This was just a couple of years ago. I have no idea what she was seeing in me. I am an educated person, but when it comes to financial success, I did not even make half the money she made. I became self-employed just a few months before the pandemic hit, and it's not a good point in history to start a business as an architect, if you can imagine. So, but I still had my good clothes from back in the days where I was a project manager at a large office. So maybe it was the clothes that she found impressing. I had a nice appearance. I looked like I was someone. By the way, that's what she said to me later. I thought you were somebody. Can you imagine how hurtful this sentence is? I thought you were somebody. I mean, I am somebody, just not somebody she was looking for. So I had a much higher level of education than her. I attended Catholic private school. She was in a public school. I graduated twice, she only once. I read books. She used them as decoration for her living room. She once asked me, where can I buy some good-looking old books for a cheap price? So that's her relationship with books. She doesn't read them, she uses them for decoration. And although I had this higher level of education and knowledge, that didn't count because I had a lower income than her. So for her, when I tried to teach her things, I was just a smartass. She didn't care about learning, whatever it was. But somehow it was still good enough for her to spend her spare time, whether it was walking in the woods with our dogs, meeting her family, going to eat something. And she told me pretty much everything about her life. I was good enough for that. From my perspective, This is how a relationship is defined, spending time together and enjoying each one's company. Well, I guess women in their middle 30s start to look for a man to found a family with, which she did. A man who can provide financial security, a man who is mentally stable, a man who has status and even some power in society. That's a man to marry, to have kids with, not some average guy like me. The average man is not good enough. It's not good enough to provide all these mentioned things. A man must be able to provide such things in a much bigger and better way than others, men. Otherwise, he's not the winner of the prize, which is, of course, her. The average woman does not want to date the average man anymore. These times are over. And the CEO lady, even if she is just an average woman from her looks, seeks for a man so far above an average man that it's hard to find one. I live in a city with 2 million residents, and there is maybe a couple of thousand who would match her requirements. But most of them are already in committed relationships, married, or they're just too old to be attractive for a young woman. So, how is a relationship with such a CEO lady? You need to be a good listener. She will be talking all the time. And you are expected not to talk too much. And if you say something, it must be something that has to do with her in a good way. Never criticize, not even if it's meant in a constructive way and with best intentions. She does not want to hear your opinion. She wants to hear her opinion coming out from your mouth. See, that's what's charming. What else can I tell you about her? Her phone. Yeah, Jesus. Her phone hang on a chain around her neck all the time. And it rang all the time. And she would talk all the time on her phone. It was not possible to talk with her for half an hour without being interrupted. Not even for 10 minutes, mostly. And even at night, the phone would ring or text messages would come. She needed to answer. So she was with her phone all the time. So actually her phone was her boyfriend. One time she lost her phone outside near the woods on a huge meadow. I went back all the way to look for her phone. And there was no reception, meaning I couldn't call her phone with my phone to easily find it. I had to look at every square meter and remember the way we were taking. And guess what? I found it. I was her hero. I've never seen this woman looking at me so thankful. I practically saved her life. And you know what she did to express her thanks? She bought me a can of Diet Coke at the gas station. And now to the part of the story that actually separates an intimate relationship from any other relationship, sex. When it comes to intimacy in this relationship, she basically used sex as a reward. She rewarded me when I was a good servant or secretary or assistant, when I did everything she expected from me to do, when I was dressed in the way she liked it, when I was in a good mood, when I did my beard and my hair perfectly, back then I still had hair, when I made her compliments and surprised her with something she liked, and then, if there was time, and she was not too stressed, and she was in the mood, and everything else was perfect, well then maybe we would have sex. Quick, boring, and inhibited sex. She made love in a way that made it obvious something was wrong. It was the opposite of general burning desire. It felt like she did a job that she actually didn't really enjoy, just finishing a task, like clearing the dishwasher or taking the waste out. So she probably slept with a bunch of other dudes while she was with me. She used me as a free personal assistant and for entertaining purposes. But sex? Well, for her, it was just a task to do now and then, so the guy would, yeah, check. Of course, she wouldn't talk about it when I asked her if something was wrong, and she was always like, nothing. I'm just not in the mood for sex now. No, nothing's wrong. Nothing's wrong. You know what we could do tomorrow? When I started to know her a little bit better, and she revealed more of her past to me, I found out that she used sex as a tool to get clients and jobs. She also worked as an escort in the beginning of her 20s. For me, sex was always something very intimate that I would only share with people I really love. And okay, sometimes it was something I did with strangers when I was immensely horny, but that was hardly the case. I only did that a few times in my life. So this woman, since the beginning of her 20s, knew that sex can be useful to make money. I never asked her how many men she had, and I don't want to know. But it were obviously too many, as sex had no more meaning to her. Sex had become a currency, not an act of passion. One night she was real drunk and she told me about her party years and how she built her network. So, a large number of men that she had in her network were men she either had slept with or men who still wanted to sleep with her. A large part of her female network were the girls she was partying with in her 20s. I'm not seeing that other people don't do that, and I'm not saying that's not an appropriate way to build a network, but in her case, I guess it was a little extreme. I hardly have any contact with the girls I slept with in my 20s or the dudes I was partying with. I have friends and I have business contacts, but for me, these are two separate worlds that I would never mix up. But sometimes it happens anyway. The problem here is this model of business relationship only works for young women while they are still attractive on the sexual marketplace. By young, I mean under 40. Once women turn 40, they are not that attractive anymore for men. And especially not for men who want to have a family, because the next generation of hot young 30-year-olds are already there, and they may be more interesting for a 40-year-old man than a 40-year-old woman. The biological clock almost points to no more kids o'clock. And this is when it gets hard for women who are used to get jobs because men want to sleep with them or at least enjoy their sexy company. The next generation of young CEO public relations ladies is already here. Why would you change your company's PR agency from time to time where you have better and more attractive options? About 2 years after we broke up, I met her again in the forest. She told me about her boyfriend, who had the exact same qualities that she did not like about me. He loved beer. He had lots of stuff at home and constantly created a mess. He had no more hair on his head, and he wasn't jacked either. But his mother had a country house in Italy. Ta-da! Bang! That's what I'm talking about. Women oversee bad habits or physical disadvantages if there's a country house. And honestly, I'm not considering myself as super handsome. I really don't. But this guy looked much, much worse than I do. It was pretty obvious that she was not really happy with this guy, but seemed to be satisfied with his lifestyle that he could provide for her. For example, his mother's country house in Italy. So now she doesn't have a child, but a country home in Italy. I guess one has to set priorities in life. So, but also, here it comes, she got her eggs frozen because they will try again later to have a child. And with these frozen eggs, you can still have a child when you are 70. It's the most stupid thing I've ever heard. I mean, I don't know, what can you say to this idea? For me, this way of having a child is just sad and the opposite of Mother Nature's idea. It is an option that only exists because women are so focused on their career, they just miss the point in life where they should have kids because their body is still able to. So they prioritize their career and they never stop looking for the perfect man, and then it's too late. As I said before, the biological clock points to no more kids o'clock. In the end, I accepted that I just wasn't good enough for her. But I realized that she wasn't good enough for me either, honestly. That relationship wouldn't have worked. She would have tamed and suppressed me all my life. She would have cut off my balls and put me into slavery on a chain around my neck, just like a dog. Actually, I don't mind being with dominant women. I even enjoy it sometimes, but too much is too much. She had a role model for this in her family. Her stepfather was the perfect servant for her mother. He did everything for her. And he was at least 10 years younger. Speaking of unbalanced relationships, I think it's necessary to have some inequalities in a relationship because otherwise no value is being transacted. And if no value is transacted, there is no reason for a relationship. But this doesn't necessarily mean one must be treated like a servant and the other is like a dictator. However, my ex-girlfriend found another victim. And although I was desperate when she left me, I'm so happy I didn't fall for her. After all, I'm heartbroken every time a relationship ends, even when I'm the one who quits it. I don't know, just think that's the nature of man. We're always desperate when we lose a woman. So to sum it up, I'm not saying you can't be happy with a woman who is a CEO, but you probably need to be a CEO yourself or make more money than her. And you have either inherited resources or you make a lot of money yourself. Otherwise, she will not respect you and not look up to you in a way a woman needs to look up to a man. And even if it's comfortable for a woman to live with a man who does everything for her, I think it's also pretty boring for a woman. I don't think women can fully respect a man who does not have his own will and is not more than a boy toy or a spender. I learned that makes sense for me. Having neither a high income nor any great status in society, nor any mentionable resources, I will not date a CEO lady anymore. Respect is maybe the most important thing in a relationship, at least for me. I'm not saying that it's the only thing that counts, certainly not. But I see respect as a premise for an honest relationship, for both men and women to respect each other the same way. I see themselves as equals, even when they are not. So that's it for today. Did you make any similar experience? Let me know in the comments. You may also subscribe to the channel for free to listen to me again. And as always, have a nice day.